Good morning once again, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to another Living Hope Today study. Here we are, 2 Samuel chapter 4. Things are getting rough. You remember that Israel is in a struggle in terms of the monarchy. King Saul fell on his own sword, committed suicide after being mortally wounded in battle. Okay, that left the whole region without a king. We know that Samuel has anointed King David, right? He's supposed to be the king, but he hasn't come to power. It's been years. He's been running for his life. It's as if God is squeezing him and allowing him to grow through struggle as he faces all these different episodes in his life. Well, now with King Saul out of the picture, the men of Judah have made David king of Judah, but the northern kingdom is still up there. What are we going to do about that? Well, let's look at the text and just see what's happening here as God moves his plan forward. You remember in chapter 3, just a little review, there was a guy named Abner. Now, when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside. Just pause there for a moment. Abner is the military leader of the north. Joab is the military leader of the south, all right, where David is. Okay, so Abner has been called back to Hebron by Joab, all right? And Joab takes him aside into the gateway as though to speak with him privately, and there to avenge the blood of his brother Asahel, Joab stabbed him in the stomach and he died. So we've had our first bit of intrigue. Well, maybe not the first, but it's significant. Joab kills Abner. The southern military guy kills the northern military guy. If you recall, Ahab had killed Joab's brother. Joab didn't forget. Joab didn't get David's permission. Joab just went and killed him. Okay, now, that's the background we need to start chapter 4. When Ish-Bosheth, remember that guy? He is the installed king of the northern kingdom, installed by Ahab. All right, there he is. When Ish-Bosheth, son of Saul, installed by Abner. Did I say Ahab? Heard that Abner had died in Hebron. In other words, his military guy has been killed. What happens to him? He mounted his troops and went to Hebron to wipe out whoever killed his... He lost courage. And all Israel became alarmed. So now Ish-Bosheth, instead of being the king that counterattacks or inserts himself as the monarchy leader, he gets afraid. He's afraid. Verse 2, now Saul's son, that's Ish-Bosheth, had 2 men who were leaders of raiding bands. One was named Baanah, and the other Rechab. They were sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite from the tribe of Benjamin. Beeroth is considered part of Benjamin. Well, you remember Saul was from the tribe of Benjamin. You remember that the Benjamites are very severe, skilled warriors. All right. But Ish-Bosheth doesn't want to fight. But these 2 guys in verse 2, they're going to take matters into their own hands. Listen to this. Because the people of Beeroth fled to Gittaim and have lived there as aliens to this day, that's just a little footnote for us. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. You know that news, right? That they both died in battle. His nurse picked him up and fled, but as she hurried to leave, he fell and became crippled. His name was Mephibosheth. Yeah, that's it, Mephibosheth. Okay, so a little side information for us that will come back into play as the story unfolds. Just to give you a little geography about where we are in Palestine at this moment. Hebron's down here, just to the west of the Dead Sea, just to the south of Bethlehem, a little farther south than Jerusalem, right? That's where David has established his throne. That's where he's ruling from. That's where he lives with his 600 guys worth of army. You get up to Mahanaim, and that's where Ish-Bosheth has been living. All right, so these two guys that we've just heard about, they start here in Beeroth, and they head up to Mahanaim, and look what they're going to do. They get up there. Now Rechab and Baanah, the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, set out for the house of Ish-Bosheth, and they arrived there in the heat of the day while he was taking his noonday rest. They went into the inner part of the house as if to get some wheat. These two guys walk in there, and what do? They stabbed him in the stomach. This is called assassination. Then Rechab and his brother Baanah slipped away. They had gone into the house while he was lying on the bed in his bedroom. After they stabbed and killed him, they cut off his head, taking it with them. They traveled all night by way of the Arabah. Wow. They brought the head of Ish-Bosheth to David at Hebron and said to the king, "Here is the head of Ish-Bosheth, son of Saul, your enemy, who tried to take your life." Right? They've been aware, obviously, of all of Saul's dealings with David. "This day the Lord has avenged my lord the king against Saul and his offspring." So these two guys take it upon themselves to go kill the one that's been chosen as the leader of the north, Ish-Bosheth. They kill him, they behead him. They bring his head all the way south to Hebron to David. Wow, what do you think David's going to do about that? Is he going to be glad? Is he going to be so happy that his rival power base is now gone? David answered Rechab and his brother Baanah, the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, "As surely as the Lord lives, who has delivered me out of all trouble. When a man told me Saul is dead and thought he was bringing good news, I seized him and put him to death in Ziklag. That was the reward I gave him for his news." Okay, I really appreciate this about David. What's he doing here? He's saying, look, I value God's move. I'm not going to manipulate circumstances. I'm going to wait for God. And for the people that decide to take action, even if they think it's on my behalf, if it's inappropriate action, I'm going to punish it. You remember that guy that came and told them that Saul was dead, thinking he brought him good news. In fact, that guy lied to David and told him that he was the one that killed Saul. I don't know what would have happened to him had he just said, "Saul fell on his own sword. I just want to bring you the news." But he took credit for the death of Saul, and David did what? Put him to death. You remember that story, I hope. David goes on with these two new guys. He says, "Hey, how much more? When wicked men have killed an innocent man in his own house and on his own bed." Hey, you guys, this guy wasn't a factor. He wasn't a threat. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. He was sleeping in his bed. You go in and you kill him, you behead him. Should I not now demand his blood from your hand and rid the earth of you? Anytime the king says something like that to you, you better be ready, because it's not going to be good. And listen to this. So David gave an order to his men, and they killed them. They cut off their hands and feet and hung the bodies by the pool of Hebron. But they took the head of Ish-Bosheth and buried it in Abner's tomb at Hebron. So they tried to show honor to the dead. So David is not interested. He's not interested in gaining power through earthly means. He wants God to work it out. And God, I guess, is working it out, even though this murderous assassination is certainly not godly at all. Now there's no power base in the north. Now there's only David. God has worked it out so that the kingdom will be united, but on the other hand, notice that David himself wants no part in bringing it about in his own power. He is not pursuing it. It's a very big lesson for us. Waiting for God. Waiting, knowing that God will accomplish his purpose. Moving when God tells us to move, but not moving when we're not told to move, and not moving when our action would be in direct disobedience to God. David understands that. His heart is to do what God wants. And God's going to reward him as we move forward, as he becomes king of the whole nation. God bless you, church. Serve him well today.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory. The first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.